Hi, this is our friend Scrappy Maniac. Today I'm going to create this card, and it's going to be for my brother, for a friend of his. But instead of saying you are awesome, I'm going to use the sentiment here that's going to say wishing you the most beautiful day. Or I think I may use sending hugs and happy thoughts, because it's for a friend of his that is in the hospital and is sick. So I think I'm going to put that sentiment on in the front. So I'm going to be using these Altenew roses, and this is the vintage rose, and I'll be using the largest size and then the next size over for these. I'm going to be using my stamping tool here, and I made this just with some just regular foam cord and a regular glass picture frame, and just put some hinges, and that's pretty much it. And there is one in the market. There's a similar tool, and actually I got inspired from a tool that's out in the market. However, the reason why I don't like the one that's out in the market, because it's all plastic, the hinges are plastic, and it's about 70 bucks. This, with the material, this was about $2. My hinges were about $4. You know, the foam was very economical, and also my foam cord was very economical, and I think for the total cost it's less than $10 for this, and it works pretty nice. So I'm going to show you how to use it. And I created two different foam thickness. Now this is when I'm using a thicker stamp, which is my rubber stamps, my cling rubber stamps. So that was what this is going to be for, and I'll show you how that works. And then when I'm using my regular acrylic stamps, I have two thickness of foam. And then I went ahead, because I didn't have any of the magnetic sheet, and I didn't want to put a magnetic sheet in between here, I went ahead and put some repositional adhesive on this foam, so that way my card will not move when I go ahead and stamp it. I'm going to make another one for my sister, so I'll have a video on how I created this one. This is the prototype, and I just wanted to make sure it worked well before I made any other one. So I'll show you how this one works, and then stay tuned for the next video where I'll show you how to create it. So this is what I'm going to create, and this type of tool is perfect for these layer stamps. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. First of all, I'm going to use some Nina white cardstock, and I just took an 8.5 by 11, and I cut it in half, and now I'm just going to score it, fold it in half, and then put that here. And because I do have the repositional adhesive, it really stays in place nicely. So actually, let me put it more centered. So now I'm going to go ahead and get some of my post-it note, and I put that here because I do want to stamp on this card, and I don't want any possibility of some of my stamping going to the back of the card. I want it to remain in the front of the card. And then before I even start anything, I'm going to go ahead and create some mask. As you can see here, this flower looked like it's before this other flower in the front of these flowers. So I want to go ahead and create the mask, so that way we can put the leaves in the back and also the flowers. So the way that I create masks is I have some repositional adhesive. So I have this royal coat, and I just take regular copy paper and create my own kind of masking paper. As you can see here, it's very sticky. And what I do is, let me put that here. I'm going to go ahead and stamp some flowers, and I think for this one, yeah, I'm going to use the same leaf that I used before. And one thing that I have, if I haven't shown you this, I got this idea from Dawn's Stamping Spot, and I'll put the link of her video, but she shows how she takes an acrylic frame and use it to put her acrylic stamps on there, and that way you keep them up above your project, and that way it doesn't get lost in between all the mess that you usually I make a lot of mess here, and sometimes my stamps get buried underneath other stuff and I'm trying to find it. This way it keeps it away from the table, so that way I don't lose them or can't find them when I need them to stamp my flowers. So I'm going to put these here. And I'm going to go ahead, let's see. And these other ones, I'm going to use this one for my leaf. And that's pretty much it. So let me go ahead and put these aside. And I'm going to go ahead and cut these out, and then I'll be back. So I cut all my mask, and now I put it in my acrylic frame to keep it out of the way. And I'm going to start stamping. So the first one I want to stamp is this large one. And I also have a piece of cloth here that I'm going to wet. And I'm going to use this to clean my stamp in between. As you can see that. Cleans it pretty nice. Okay. And I think the first one, I'm going to go ahead and position it here. The first one doesn't really matter. You can position it anywhere you want. But I'm going to go ahead and position mine there. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm using some Martha Stewart ink pads. So I'm going to use this nice pink. And I'll press it down. And the good thing about having this stamping tool is that, see how it didn't come out as well? It didn't, because my ink is drying up. You can go ahead and stamp it again. And I might want to try the other one. This one looks like it's a little drier. Let me try this one. And we can go ahead and re-stamp it. You can see how it stamps pretty nice. Maybe I want to stamp it again. Just to get a nice color on there. Okay. I can easily clean it with my cloth, and then I'll put it back on my acrylic picture frame. So the next one is going to be the next layer, and see, with this stamping tool I can position it exactly where I need to position this. And press down. And I'm going to use, let's see, the darker pink. And see, I just need to stamp it again because it didn't pick up the color as well, because these ink pads are kind of dry. And I can even do it a third time. And see how nice that looks. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean my stamp. Put it back on the block, on my acrylic block or my acrylic frame. And now I'm going to go ahead and position this one. Okay. And this one I'm going to use this burgundy color. It's very dry in my garage. I live in Arizona, so the ink pads dry pretty quick. So here, see how that came out? Pretty nice. Clean that off. So I think I was using these stamping spots yesterday, and I think they may have dried out a little bit. So now I'm going to take my mask, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp another flower here. Actually, I may want to stamp it, let's see. down here might be a good spot to stamp it. So let me go ahead and bring my next flower. This is a great technique for this tool because you really can put the mask and really create your clusters. So I want to create a nice little cluster with leaf behind each of the flowers on both corners, the lower right hand corner and the upper left hand corner. And these ink pads were very dry, so it's a good thing I used this tool because I had to stamp 2 or 3 times in order to get the color that I wanted for my leaves. And they were not stamping very well on the first pass. So here I'm creating another cluster on top, and then using my mask, I'm going to go ahead and stamp leaf on the side of the flowers. And actually, before I peel it off, I'm going to go ahead and get the saying. And I'm going to be using this saying that says, "Sending hugs and happy thoughts." It's a Goodwill card. And this is from A Beautiful Day from Altenew. So both of these stamps are Altenew stamps. And then I can really position where I want this. I think I'm going to put it right here. And I want to use black ink. I'm going to get my black ink out. And see, I need to stamp it again because I really want it dark. So this allows me to stamp it again. And there. Look how beautiful that came out. Okay, so let me clean this up. I'll put it on my acrylic frame for now. Now let's go ahead and peel these, and see, that looks pretty nice. So the next thing I want to do is I'm just going to take a regular block, and I'm just going to stamp these around the edges. So I'm going to need some darker green. So using one of the layer stamps from Altenew for the leaves, I went ahead and used a darker green, and I'm just giving it a little more shading. And it really, I just putting a little bit of shading there because I want to go over it with my Wink Castella. I do have a Wink Castella to give it a little glimmer, and it's a green color, so you'll see me in a second that I use that to kind of go over the shading that I placed on there and just giving it a little more shading on these leaves. And you don't have to be perfect. I just wanted to give it a little bit of shine and shimmer. After I did this, I do have another shimmer solution that I created with some iridescent paint and a lot of water. And I squirt that in a paintbrush, one of these watercolor paintbrushes. And that's what I'm going on top of my roses to give it a little more shimmer. And I'm almost done. And so you can see a little bit of shine. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little bit of shimmer on there. And I'm going to go ahead and put some sequins, as you can see there. So I'm going to pull that out. Here's my sequins. And I'm going to take some clear adhesive, and I'm just going to put a couple of dots. What works for me is I go ahead and place the glue down on where I want my sequins to be. And then after I place the glue down, then I go ahead and put the sequins on top of it. And this is called Quick Cuts. It's a quicker poker picker upper stick. And it's perfect for putting sequins. And this concludes my card. So here's my second card. And I hope you like this video, and thank you for watching. Bye now.